Plaintiff Robert Katina says one day while in a fast food drive-thru line, he got into an argument with the defendant, who was in line just ahead of him. Robert claims after the defendant punched him in the face several times, he dragged him through the parking lot. So he's suing for lost wages and medical bills. Defendants Michael Gruno and his parents David and Janet Sly admit that Michael punched Robert, but insist it was only after Robert initiated the fight. Michael claims he fled the scene and accidentally dragged Robert because he thought Robert was trying to rob him, and they're countersuing for attorney fees.
Start with you.
Sir, on the evening of July 4th, 2011, my girlfriend Laura and her son and I proceeded to the Burger King parking lot drive-thru after the firework display. My son Ethan wanted a milkshake. So we were in line at the drive-thru waiting to go through to order our milkshake, at which time the defendant, who was the car in front of us, for whatever reason decided he didn't want to be there and backed into Laura's vehicle. Laura exited the car to talk to him to take a look to see if there was any kind of damage at all, at which point the defendant started verbally screaming at her, swearing, cussing, calling her every name in the book. And at the same time, he's edging his car back and forth, trying to exit the drive-thru without taking a look at to see if there was any damage. Laura came back to the car, at which point I exited the car. I was on the passenger side to go and talk to the defendant. I didn't know who he was at all. At that point, he had already kind of angled his car out to exit the parking lot, and I leaned over into the driver's side window to talk to him, saying, "Hey, buddy, we got to take a look, see if there's any damage to the cars and what we should do about this." At which point, he grabbed me by the shirt, punched me in the face several times, 3 or 4 times. I do have photos here of that.
Let's see it, please.
And as he's grabbing me, he proceeded to exit the parking lot at a high rate of speed, dragging me through the parking lot. I didn't know if I was
dragging you.
Held me by the shirt as he exited the parking lot. He was holding me by the
window. While he was driving.
While he was driving, correct. Pulled me through the parking lot, probably about 150 feet, at which time when he exited the parking lot to get onto the street to get away, he let go of me, and then I proceeded to roll through the parking lot at that point. I leaned over into the driver's side window to talk to him, saying, "Hey, buddy, we got to take a look, see if there's any damage to the cars and what we should do about this." At which point, he grabbed me by the shirt, punched me in the face several times, 3 or 4 times. I do have photos here of that.
Defendants Michael Gruno and his parents David and Janet Sly are being sued by a man who claims Michael assaulted him in a fast food drive-thru line, then dragged him through the parking lot.
Sir.
A lot of his story is, of course, the same. I was at Burger King, he was behind me. The line was moving really slow, and where I was in line, I would have had the opportunity to pull out instead of wait. I think I had been in line for 45 minutes, and it really haven't moved. I drive a manual vehicle, so I put it in reverse to turn the reverse lights on, and I looked behind me, and I realized that they had pulled up probably within 4 inches of my car. So I gestured kind of rudely, like, "Why are you so close?" You know, I took it out of gear. She came up to my window, and my first impression was, as a bartender, she was drunk and she was on drugs.
Why do you think she came up to your window?
My impression, honestly, was that she was trying to get money out of the situation and say that I hit her car.
Sure,
I have the original.
Hold on, sir. Okay. You say she got out of the car and came up to your window,
yes.
And what did she say?
She said that I hit her car.
All right, and you deny hitting it?
No, I did not hit it.
So you denied hitting it, and then what happened?
She kind of got heated, and I fled with her to just wait for the car in front of me to pull up so I could pull up and get out of the car, and we could look to see if there was damage. There's no way if I would have put the parking brake on as close as she was, I would have hit her car. And that wasn't good enough. She got hysterical. Robert, she went back in the car, and Robert came out, and there were almost no words between us. He came right in the window after me. I was counting my money. I had all my money on the driver's seat for the stuff I was gonna order, and my first impression was that they were just basically trying to rob me, trying to get the money. At this point, he's got me by the head, and he's reaching in the window, attacking me, and the car in front of me pulled up. And I don't admit or deny hitting him. I definitely was punching him in the face.
Because you thought he was there to rob you?
Yes, and I was trying to push him off the car, so I started driving away. Once the car in front of me pulled up, I took off, and I had him by the...
Help?
Excuse me?
Did you yell help?
I don't think I was yelling. I was yelling.
Help.
Probably not. It's hard.
Why not? You were being robbed. You thought you were being robbed.
I was in my car in a drive-through, in a busy drive-through. I don't know if
I know, that's even more of a reason to yell help. You got a lot of people around, and you're being robbed right in front of a lot of people. So it's very easy to just say, help, I'm getting robbed. And out of all of those people, I think one of them would have said, stop, don't rob him. Little lady, stop robbing him. Go ahead, but you thought you were being robbed, and so you grabbed him and you started beating him to avoid being robbed.
No.
Okay.
I tried to push him out of the vehicle, and there's a running board and a roll cage. So I started driving away, and for whatever reason, he's hanging onto the vehicle, and I'm trying to push him down.
Oh, he was voluntarily hanging on. You weren't
Yes.
keeping him attached.
There is no way I could drive. I'm 170 pounds. There's no way I could hold him onto the car with one hand.
All
and
right,
drive
so
through the park.
you're suggesting that instead of letting go, he said, well, I don't mind all these injuries and the pain isn't that bad, so I'll just hold on. Gotcha. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Your Honor. After he exited, the police did come because we did report that he did back into our car. The police came, they assessed the situation. I was badly hurt. I ended up in the hospital. He did flee the scene. The police, Laura did get the license plate number. They did go to his home because originally they were going to look at possible hit and run because we did say he did back into us and he didn't even
So what was the charge, Wooden? What was the outcome?
He was eventually charged and found guilty and pled guilty to 3 counts, disorderly conduct, battery.
3 counts.
Another disorderly conduct, and these charges were less than what was originally charged because they plea bargained them down.
He admitted guilt.
Yes, he did. Criminally.
Well, why are we going through all this? You admitted you were guilty. Sir, tell me about all this. You act like you were being robbed. Did you tell the police they were robbing you instead?
Yes. And
And they didn't believe that.
the officer told me that if I would have been the one to call the cops, it would have been a completely different situation and he probably would have been taken to jail. Because as I said earlier, it says right here in the police
Now, I
department.
don't need to tell me what you said earlier. I'm very astute.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I need to know now
Sure.
about what you didn't say earlier, and that is you admitted guilt and that you were sentenced. In fact, you were sentenced to 70 days in jail.
Well, I had a lot of trouble with this. My original attorney didn't think there was any possible way that I could be charged. He moved to Madison and never said a word to anybody. And I ended up missing court dates because there was no communication between me and the lawyer. I didn't know the word. So the judge was irritated with me, to say the least. And I ended up being reassigned to a different public defender who, of course, was well overworked with all these other cases because this guy had quit without saying a word to anybody. I know this sounds kind of hard to believe, but at this point, I didn't have the money for a better lawyer. I didn't have much choice but to plead out. I had like 40 days I had to sit in jail, and then it was over.
Well, you don't think you would have gotten justice by saying not guilty?
Not with the lawyer that I had, no.
Okay, because what was wrong with this lawyer?
She was overworked and she did not
You
want to
weren't
work.
paying?
No, it was a public defender, and because
All
of the
right.
one.
That's pretty odd, because today you're countersuing
There-
for lawyer fees.
There was a mistake. No, there was a mistake. The lawyer fees are for this civil suit. They contacted the
Oh.
lawyer immediately when they got the paperwork
We
for
did.
this civil suit.
Oh, did you say, help, I'm getting robbed? And out of all of those people, I think one of them would have said, stop, don't rob him. Little lady, stop robbing him.
Defendants Michael Gruno and his parents David and Janet Sly are being sued by a man who claims Michael assaulted him in a fast food drive-through line, then dragged him through the parking lot.
Sir, what did you want to say?
They're suing us. They're suing us for the $5,000. Me and his mother, my
I
wife.
got that point.
Yeah, they're suing us because we let him use our Jeep while we were on vacation, which doesn't make any sense to me. That's why we are here, sir.
No,
They're suing
I
us.
think you're here because your son was charged and indeed pled guilty to assaulting him and served 70 days. Now, suppose he's suing you all because, as you say, it was your Jeep. Now, sir, unless you can prove that they had a reason not to allow him to use the Jeep, they're not liable for his actions.
Sir, looking at the records, he's had a major problem with vehicles, previous OWIs, driving after a vacation, disorderly conduct, other batteries, all involving vehicle use. I think it's very neglectful that they let him use a vehicle when he's done this to other people in the past, different things, and I just believe it's neglect on their part to even let him drive their vehicle.
Okay, so they should never let him drive another vehicle
No,
of theirs the rest of his life.
His vehicle, not their vehicle.
He's liable. Let's see your medical bills and your lost wages. And sir, it is the risk you take when you plead guilty, take a plea bargain. People say that quite frequently, that they didn't like the sentence they received after pleading guilty, or they shouldn't have pled guilty. Most guilty pleas, they tell you the sentence. Your lawyer tells you what is being offered by the prosecutor. He'll come to you and say, okay, they're willing to reduce this to such and such, and the proposed sentence they are going to recommend to the judge is 70 days. Anger management, work release, and then they say, what do you want to do? Do you want to take this sentence and do the 70 days, or do you want to fight it? And you said, I'll take the 70 days. Your claim is dismissed, folks, because he had a reason to sue. So I'm going to grant you your judgment, $5,000 for wages and medical bills, because he is liable based on his own admission. And with regard to your counterclaims, I'll have to dismiss your legal fees because they know or should have known that their claim is frivolous and they cannot win. In this case, it is not frivolous. It's very much warranted that he should sue. All right, have a good day.
This whole altercation could have been avoided if he would have just got out of the car that evening. We could have taken a look, saw there was no damage, and gone on our way, but it escalated into something much worse than it needed to be.
It definitely did. I mean, it's obviously you're both on drugs, you're both drunk, you're both pretty much nuts. But
You're the one who admitted you were drinking in the police report.
no, that's no.
Yes,
that's a lie.
it's in the police report.
And you admitted to the police you were drinking
Which
that
is why
evening?
you took off, and which was why you wouldn't answer the door when the
Answer the
police
door that
came, because
evening.
they didn't want a
You're one of the best known
DUI,
crackheads
Michael, which
in
you've already
the
had 3 of.